when you're working with hotels, with brands, with any companies that want to support you and you want to support them, think about what your exchange of value is. Sometimes instead of asking for people or waiting for someone to give you an opportunity, make it yourself. No one's going to wait around for you, but also you shouldn't just expect people to come find you. Put yourself out there. Show them how you're adding value. Go out and see who's willing to pay you for something. And if not, at least have a gifted or collaborative experience. Hi friends, and welcome back to another YouTube video on my channel. This one is all about traveling because you all have sent me so many questions in my DMs on TikTok, via Instagram about traveling. I am going to make sure that in this video we answer everything to a T to make sure that your travels are as great as they can be. If you don't know what I do by now, I run my own business. I also have written a book and work for the BBC as a presenter. But in my free time and my side hustles, I love to travel. I have a talk show called Tea with Sonya, and I'm now officially a travel writer. So the first question that's come through is, how can I plan a budget-friendly trip as a young traveler? What a great question. I think when you're really thinking about traveling, as a young traveler, make the most of the fact that you possibly don't have responsibilities. What I mean by that is, if you don't already know, prices for flights, hotels, and holidays go up during school holidays. And so the best thing to do is to fly off peak. That might look like February, which is a great month to go away because honestly, the weather, especially in the UK, is terrible and gloomy. June, good month also. November, great month to go offline and take yourself on your travels. Also think about, when you're doing budget friendly, what your budget is. So if your budget is, let's say, less than 1,000, think about how you can make the most of that money in Europe. Is that going on a Ryanair or EasyJet? Is it staying in hostels or going to budget hotels like a Premier Inn, Travelodge, or something equivalent? If it's maybe 1,500 to $2,000, can you go backpacking around Asia? Can you go and purchase that big expensive ticket, which might cost £500 to £600 to a destination in Asia, but then stay in hostels, walk around, go around, explore local cities with your backpack? What that means is you're not checking in luggage and really enjoy more for your buck. The other thing to think about is when planning a budget-friendly travel, especially as a young traveler, is do you want to go alone or do you want to go in a group? Now, if you haven't seen the video already, I had a really great trip to Istanbul and wider Turkey with Intrepid. They are a tour company in which they take small groups to explore local neighborhoods. That could be one way, or equally, you could do everything yourself, but that means also thinking about the time, effort it's going to take you to research, to book, to take yourself from one space to the other, and to really localize yourself with the experience. There's no right or wrong. It really is about what that means for you. So in summary, how can I plan budget-friendly trips as a young traveler? 1, know your budget. 2, think about going on holiday when there is no half term or when the flights are off peak. 3, consider if you're going to stay in a hostel or a hotel, what the differences are. 4, think about if you want to travel with others. So are you going in a troop or are you going to do a solo explorer trip? And 5, and most importantly, when you think about budget-friendly travel, what are your activities going to be? Are you going to be sitting by a beach reading a book, and so that might be more cost effective? Or do you want to be in a position where you're going to have an all-inclusive and not worry about your food? Or are you going to be in a trip where you're going out to explore and walking on your feet all day? Because those will have not only different price points, but different destinations. That brings me on to my next question. What are the best destinations for first-time travelers in their 20s? My first ever real trip in my 20s was around Italy. And that was during my study abroad year. And it was the best experience of my life. If anything, I'm actually writing a piece on 10 things I learned during my study abroad year in Italy. I was a 20-year-old. I was also a student, which means that I didn't have a lot of money. I had very little to no exposure and I had no idea what I was doing. So my first trips were staying in hostels close to locations that had a high rating of safety, making sure that everybody was informed as to where I was going, who I was going with and what my route was, ensuring that I really went with a budget, which meant that I might have 10, 20 euros a day for food, for drinks, for activities. And so making the most of bicycles, walking. Back then there weren't really e-scooters. And so it really was just exploring on your feet and ensuring that everything you was seeing was a value add. So my point being is, I remember going on really great trips around the Tower of Pisa, taking a bike around Lucca, being in the Cinque Terre region, which was for me was beautiful because it was by greenery. It had great food. It was quiet towns, and so you had a localized experience. It was by the sea, and so you really got that feel of the border of Italy. And it was a lot of colorful towns, which is really what I wanted from the experience. Outside of that, especially in Europe, I would say Spain or south of Portugal are really great places as solo travelers, not only because they are cheap and cheerful, but because people are quite friendly. There's safety procedures already put in place, and you'll meet another load of solo travelers. If you're thinking Asia, some of my favorite destinations include Malaysia. I've already spoken about it ample number of times, but Malaysia is so great because it's really where East and West come together. I had a great experience in Turkey, and prior to going to Turkey, I hadn't realized there were so many solo travelers, especially women who were going out and about by themselves. But Istanbul is quite safe in that regard, and things open till late, which is always a really cool, fun experience. I haven't really done traveling around the USA, so I can't comment on that. But I'm a big advocate of south of Europe if you're going to do your first travel destination in your 20s, or main kind of Central Asia, just because they already have the processes and policies in place. People are already solo traveling, and so they're accustomed to it. You can have that backpacker lifestyle and stay in a hostel but still have a great experience. And most importantly, you will get a lot for your buck, which is what you're really working with when you're thinking about traveling in your 20s. What are some safety tips and precautions for solo female travelers? Now, I have done a video on tips that I wish I knew prior to traveling, especially business travels. But I would say the one, maybe two most important ones are: one, don't try to save by sacrificing security. So what I mean by that is, if you don't feel like that hostel is safe, or if it's not near a main location, or it's not in a lit up street, don't try and save £5, £10 or euros or dollars because you think that's going to be best for your buck. Actually really focus on safety and security. And the second very similar point is, think about your location. As solo female travelers, location is really important. So in hindsight, it's better to stay in the center where everything is walking distance and you can go back to your hostel or hotel or Airbnb, than it is to be in a position where you're constantly having to jump on trains or buses or find transport to get yourself there. Outside of that, when you are traveling, think about keeping yourself safe by sharing your location with your trusted friends and family members, by staying up to date using FaceTime or WhatsApp, by thinking about when there's sunrise and sunset. Now, when I'm solo traveling, I actually try and come home at a decent time, which means around 9 p.m. I will be back in my accommodation of choice, and I will stay indoors unless I'm in a large group, just for safety, for reasons of safety. But I'm therefore an early morning riser. So I'd go out when there's sun rising and then just spend the whole day doing what you're doing. I'd say other things to consider is having an eSIM or a phone in which you're actually able to have data, which is really important. I'd also consider, if you're going on hikes or around nature, not to be by yourself, to go on group tours. Just again, from a safety aspect, anything and everything can happen. And outside of that, I would say just be always self-aware. So what I mean by that is, I've got my phone here. If you are constantly looking at your phone, looking down, or if you're constantly taking pictures, you're not seeing at what's around you. And so maybe have a moment just to take some content and then put your phone or your camera away and actually be aware of the crowd. There is one school of thought in which they're wear headphones, another school of thought which is don't wear headphones. I personally don't wear headphones when I'm solo traveling or by myself anywhere, so that I can just be aware of what's happening around me and the sounds and anything which is help or hindering the disturbance or kind of the conversation. At the same time, some female solo travelers will say actually wear headphones and it makes them feel safer. There's no right or wrong. It's just think about what works for you. But in summary, location is really key. Don't sacrifice on safety just for a few bucks. Ensure that you're sharing your travel plans. Be in a position where you maybe have an itinerary already carved out. And if you're going anywhere which might be in nature or hiking or on a trail, try and go with people because it's just much safer. Another question that came in: how can I document my travels through vlogs and travel diaries effectively? That's such a great question. And I guess my answer to that is just, you need to think about what your intent is. So obviously I do a travel vlogging now via YouTube. And so a lot of my vlogs are now in landscape mode. But one thing that I've stopped doing is stopped recording in a moment that I really enjoy. And so I really just try to be present and try and create content around it. Whereas one of my first vlogs that I ever did, I was trying to basically showcase every single thing that I was doing. But in hindsight, I don't really remember the experience as such. So now it's like, oh, okay, there's animals. I'm going to take a little bit of content for the animals, but then I'm going to put my phone away and just enjoy it and be there in the moment. Also, when you're doing vlogs or travel diaries, really think about what the end user and customer or audience member is really getting from the content. If it's just a matter of walking around the city, great. But is there something I need to be seeing? Is there food that I need to be eating? Is there something in the city that really is worth my time or attention span? Or are you just showing me something for the sake of showing it? I've seen a few vlogs where individuals will be like, oh, my review of this hotel, but then they're not showing me the hotel. They're just sitting in their hotel bed and being like, well, this is the hotel. That for me is not a value add, because I want to see what the hotel looks like. Because for me, as an audience member, I'm trying to see if I want to stay in that hotel or not. If that's your intention, to be like, here's a review of the hotel, I want to see the hotel. But if your intention is of sitting in your bed and summarizing your experience, well, you can do that at home. And so meaning that you can actually enjoy your experience when you're traveling and then just add content in using InShot or CapCut at a later date, and not really worry about not enjoying the experience. Some of my best travels have been when I've not had to content capture anything. So I went to Japan a few years ago, one of the best holidays of my life, but I have such little pictures or videos to show for it, but I have so many memories in my brain because I was actually there in the moment. Equally, you might have seen my videos in Rhodes. I captured a few bits when I was in Rhodes, including the hotel or the animals or the White House of Lindos, and then I put my phone away and just really enjoyed the moment. I guess in summary, when you're doing hotel vlogging, travel vlogging, or travel diaries, people don't need to see every single thing you're doing, but they need to see your highlight reel. So think about, right, what is important in my highlight reel? Is it making notes on your phone beforehand to be like, I'm going to show them 24 hours in London, and so I'm going to make sure I capture these things in London plus these experiences plus these food items? Or is it you're just going to give them a hotel review, and if that's the case, what are the most important places to see? Or is it that I'm going to tell them of what they should be doing 72 hours in Nairobi in Kenya, and so I'm just going to capture everything right at the start of what I'm experiencing, and then I'm going to put my content away and put it all together. I'm also a big fan of voicing over content afterwards, because I feel like you can really think about what you're trying to say. But again, there's no right or wrong. But in summary, if you are wanting to be a travel vlogger or create content and do travel diaries, really think about, what is the purpose of this? Does it already exist on the internet? And if so, what's my different unique angle? How am I adding value to somebody's day, life, and moment? What is the key takeaway I want them to take away? And how long is this going to be? Because people have short attention spans. And so it really has to be something magnificent if it's going to be bad and bougie and long, or is it a short form content video? Another question was what are the most popular travel trends or unique experiences for young travelers? I think a lot of that has changed over time. I know that recently, I would say in the last few years, hiking has really gone up in trends. And so if you can find a location where you can hike, and be that with a group that you already know or a group tour, that might be quite exciting. So I would say hiking is quite cool in terms of unique experiences and travel trends. I'd also say group traveling. So again, if you don't want to go by yourself, but your friends don't really want to go with you, or you want to go and meet new people, go on a group travel tour. And the great thing about that is you can adjust the itinerary as it suits you. And lastly, which is quite an interesting one, it's going to a spot and then seeing what like internet friends you have. I myself have done it too. Wherever I go, I can find internet friends. And a big part of that is landing somewhere and just DMing people to be like, hey, I'm around, you want to grab a coffee? And actually, if you want to grab a coffee, can you also tell me what the local experiences are here that I should be engaging with? One thing I love to do is when I go on holiday anywhere and everywhere, I love to go to like local markets or shopkeepers or restaurants and family boutiques, and not only eat their food and buy from their shop so I can give back to the local economy, but also ask them for their suggestions to be like, hey, where do you actually eat? Because often as tourists, we're going to go for something that's like amplified as a tourist experience, and that might not be the best thing. A good example being is when someone comes to the UK, I'm never like, oh, go on the London Eye, you should definitely experience it. If anything, I'm like, no, don't go on the London Eye. You can see it from outside, but the embankment area around the London Eye is really nice. South Bank is quite cool. You can walk from South Bank to Tower Bridge, which is a really fascinating walk, and it's next to the river, and you're passing Tate Modern, you're passing St. Paul's Cathedral, you're passing Exo Tower, you're passing sea containers, you're passing London, the London Bridge Museum or Shakespeare's Theatre, whatever it might be. Localize your experience. And so really ask people who are on the ground. Obviously, don't talk to strangers who are creepy, but sometimes talking to strangers in a secure environment will already also help you find the most unique travel experiences that you can really go down. How can I find and connect with like-minded travelers or join travel communities? Well, there is an app that I'm building that's going to help with all of that. So the LMF Network app will come out at the end of December 2023, or it depends on when you're watching this, but fundamentally it's if LinkedIn and Bumble had a baby. You can connect with people based on location and interest. They will also get a notification when you land in their space in case they want to engage or grab a coffee, tea, or drink of choice, or whatever else you all can do. You can have career conversations online, but also start forums, so you might be able to ask for travel tips. And most importantly, you can build out that network, those friends, those mentors, and those communities, really through your own confidence, keeping yourself accountable and in the palm of your hand, which is going to change everything. Outside of that, there's a bunch online. And so you can go and find them on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Hashtag travel communities, hashtag solo female travel communities, hashtag women who travel, right? Rather than focusing on the names of the communities, follow the relevant hashtags, see which one has the engagement, drop them a DM, ask them about your questions, let them know when you're coming along. And if they're not the best people to help you, see if they can introduce you to other communities that they might know, and then just go from there. What are some packing tips and hacks that make my trips more convenient and enjoyable? It really depends on where you're going. Now, I personally don't buy checked baggage unless it comes with the ticket. So obviously if I'm in London and I'm going to Asia, in most cases that does come with a ticket. But if I'm in London and I'm going to a place in Europe, I will not buy checked baggage. I will actually take a cabin baggage on with me. Why that is one, it means I don't have to wait around for baggage and it's not an extra cost. And that extra cost or extra budget I can then use on experiencing new fun things. But secondly, it also means that if you have to take a limited amount of clothing, which is really great because one, you pack knowing what you actually need. 2, you don't overpack, meaning that you have a little bit of space if you want some goodies. 3, if people are asking you for like, oh, where's my presents? You could just be like, listen, I didn't have any space because I didn't buy baggage. It's a really good excuse, right? It saves you from having to buy like all those biscuits and treats to bring home. Everyone just gets a magnet. Everyone is happy. Fourthly, it means that you actually have less stuff to look after, which when you're traveling is really important, especially when you're doing more of a convenience trip or you're going to be moving around. And 5, it's just an ultimate hack. By having less luggage, you're able to enjoy a lot more and you can get to the front of the bus, you can get to the front of the train, you don't have to worry about bashing into people, you don't have to pay for extra luggage. As soon as the flight lands, you can just run off and be on your way. And it changes the way that you travel. What I would say, another hack, is always take a spare pair of slippers. It's a weird hack, but actually, just from a hygiene perspective, most places now don't give you free slippers. And actually, a lot of hotels that I stay in don't give you free slippers anymore. You have to buy the bathrobe or you have to buy the slippers. Just take a pair of disposable slippers. You can get them for a couple of pounds, or ones that you already have. Just have them in your backpack, stashed away. Make sure they're flexible so you can bend them a little bit. That's a good hack. Other hacks include buy snacks prior to getting to the airport. Listen, I went to a WH Smith the other day and a pack of chewing gum was £1.50. There is no need for a pack of chewing gum to be £1.50, especially at the airport. That's so expensive. And so snacks like nuts, cheese, like little Baby Bell, chewing gum, even like tea bags that you can just take and then ask for hot water. Do all of that prior to boarding or checking in or going through security, because it just means that you have something on hand if you need it. Other hacks include buying your transport tickets beforehand. Now, not on an Uber, because Ubers and any like taxi that you book through an app is ridiculous amounts of money. I was going out in London the other day and an Uber that cost me £6 there and then cost me £60 to reserve. That's ridiculous, right? That's how they make extra money. So apart from like an Uber or a taxi app of choice, think about reserving seats on buses, seats on trains. Other hacks, especially if you're traveling to the UK, is if you're traveling 3 or more people, don't buy the ticket online. Go to the actual rail counter and buy a ticket, because they are able to give you a discount. If you are an elderly couple, they're able to give you a discount. If you are a student, they're able to give you a discount. Really ask people if they're able to give discounts. When I travel, regardless of what country I'm in, I'm like, can you give a student discount? And they're like, well, are you a student? I'm like, yes, I am, because I actually work for universities. And so you can get a student discount, or for people that are actually students, you can get a student discount. See what you can hack in different ways. And honestly, a lot of it is just not being afraid to ask, right? Ask what the requirements are. Ask if there are any discounts. Ask what the hacks are. Ask what the freebies are. Ask what you don't get in advance. And then just make sure that you are sorted for all of that as you're going across in the trip. Other travel hacks that I would recommend only if you are able to financially, and I really, really, really want to stress this point, is please don't take out a credit card if you cannot afford to take out a credit card. But hacks include having loyalty points. So I, for example, have an American Express. I don't love it, but I'm hooked. I think American Express really had a lot more a few years ago in terms of value add and customer service, but they have really good travel Avios points. What that means is I have an American Express that I pay about 300 and something pounds for a year. And if I spend 10K a year, which I do because I run a business, you're able to get a 2-for-1 voucher, a companion voucher, which means that every time I then fly, let's say it's a business class flight to Mauritius, which it was, it's going to cost me 2-for-1 if I'm bringing someone along. What a great hack to have, especially if you're traveling as a couple, platonic or not, whatever it might be. Another travel hack in that sense is, again, if you use credit cards that give you loyalty points, be that for hotels or be that for airlines, you're able to then rack up the points to maybe get some free nights or get some discounts and coupons where eligible. Other travel hacks include, and I've got this in my other YouTube video that I've just linked, using sites repeatedly. So this is absolutely not affiliated, none of this is, but I use booking.com, and I've used booking.com for a few years now, which means that I'm able to activate their Genius discount. Because that's actually how many bookings I normally make. And so I'm able to activate their Genius discount, which is even cheaper on a mobile phone app, which yes, takes a lot of memory, but it means that I'm able to have 30-40% off certain hotels that others might not be able to activate. So again, other hacks, financial hacks, include asking for goodies, trying to get upgrades, having the relevant cards, loyalty points, and being loyal to one company of your choice and building up that loyalty. But again, the cost of living crisis and financial advisory and the economy, all of that need to be looked into. So this is not financial advice, and I want to make it really clear, please don't take one out if you cannot afford it, because you will be charged a lot of interest and it can impact your credit score. But as someone who runs a business and does have a stable salary, I do most of my purchases on American Express so that I can activate the Avios points, which then I use to buy flights, unlock companion vouchers, or get discounts from hotels. How can I monetize my travel content through platforms like YouTube or travel blogging? My friend, once you figure that out, come and tell me. Joking, I've actually been able to monetize quite quickly. So I started my YouTube in January 2020, and I've just been consistent. Now, some of my videos do really well. Like, they have 30K racked up within the first few months. Other videos don't have more than 30 views. That's not an issue. What you want to be doing is you want to have consistency. One thing I did wrong is I tried to do a little bit of travel across all platforms. That didn't work for me because I wear different hats. So YouTube is my main travel vlog of choice. That is what I choose to put my travels on. LinkedIn, I might do a post here and there and talk about how traveling has changed or transformed my life, but there's a business angle. Instagram, I'm just a vibe. I'm trying to have a lifestyle account. There's nothing that's aesthetically pleasing. It's just post as you wish based on your moods. And TikTok, I'm trying to make it more tech related because it's more about news activation, and that's something I can do consistently. What I mean by that is by having a strategy of each platform, you're able to not only create content consistently, but you're then able to direct brands, hotels, individuals, PR managers, whoever it might be, to that medium of choice, you're able to then give them examples of what you've done in the past that's worked, and what you're planning to do in the future that will work with real receipts. So how can you monetize travel content? Consistency is key. Engage with your insights and understand what your audience want. Engage with your insights and understand where they're coming from, so you can really diversify your language, the content you're producing, or have a target market of choice. When you're working with hotels, with brands, with any companies that want to support you and you want to support them, think about what your exchange of value is. So, hey, X company, I have a vlog on this, I have a channel on that. I believe that I can stay in your hotel for 50% off. In return, I can give you a feed post, a story post, a YouTube vlog, which is going to be 10 minutes long, covering these angles, and it will stay on for this much time, and so drive traffic instantly. This is going to be of value to you because of X, because of Y, because of Z. I look forward to hearing with you, right? It could be a message as simple as that, or it could just be sliding in someone's DM to be like, hey, X company, I see that you've started working with content creators. Here's who I am. Here's my engaged audience. Here's the demographics that I cover. Here's, an example of something that's worked in the past. Are you looking for new content creators to work with? If so, let's jump on a call and see how we can support one another. I also use X, formerly known as Twitter, quite a lot. Journo requests, PR requests, travel campaigns. And recently, I'm very proud to say that I've been pitching my heart out, and now I'm able to write for the likes of TripAdvisor and Lonely Planet and Hello Magazine. That gives me a lot of credibility. And so again, when I'm going to monetize my traveling, I can now do it in a way which makes sense in terms of coverage. The last thing I would say is, if you don't already know, I host a talk show called Tea with Sonya. The T stands for tea, tech, travel, trends, talking, because those are the things that I love to do. The point being is, sometimes instead of asking for people or waiting for someone to give you an opportunity, make it yourself. Tea with Sonya is now international. I have been able to produce content in Nairobi, in Kenya, across Kenya, talk to journalists from Australia. I am, by the time you see this, hopefully, I would have already done it. If not, I'm working with the likes of the Intercontinental Hotel in Lisbon. I am working with other hotel partners in Singapore, in Maldives. I have worked with the partners in Mauritius. Point being is, no one's going to wait around for you, but also you shouldn't just expect people to come find you. Put yourself out there. Show them how you're adding value. Bring the receipts. If you want to take control of monetizing your travel content, your blogs, your vlogs, anything you're doing, go out and see who's willing to pay you for something. And if not, at least have a gifted or collaborative experience. And the last question is, what do I really enjoy about traveling? The reason I do these travel vlogs is really to help you. It's really to support the conversation we're having. And it's also to build brand awareness, right? When you're thinking about traveling, creating content, and being a blogger. So hopefully these questions have been helpful. Hopefully the answers have been helpful. They've come for you directly. If you have any more questions to share, you can just drop me a line, slide into my DMs, or email me, hello@sonyabarlow.co.uk. And I look forward to producing more videos for you to help you on your travel journeys. Thank you.